I'm going to play a short clip of an interview on Dane Wigington's channel, Dane interviewing General Bert Stubblebine and Rima Leibau, Dr. Rima Leibau. Very important information. Please circulate it. Filled with information and connections between all of the toxins, the geoengineering, and the fluoride, and the mercury, and the vaccines, even the connection with Jade Helm, the power structure triggering forces on the planet that can't be stopped, the chaos that is coming. General Stubblebine also talks about the 9/11 and it being a false flag and how heartbreaking it was for him to wake up to that reality. Anyway, I hope you circulate it. It is a very interesting interview, and here's the clip.
I wrote an ebook which is available free on the internet called, I believe it's called Radiation in America, very simple title, in which I document that the vast preponderance of the U.S. population is living in areas which are chronically so far above the EPA required permanent evacuation level that it's double and in some cases triple that level. The population is never told that, and certainly the population. What are you going to do with the 89 or 90% of the population of the United States? Well, one thing you can do is kill it. And then you can take the remaining 10% of the population, and this is the Agenda 21 plan, which is intimately connected with what we're talking about. You can take the remaining population and compress it onto, as is planned, 1% of the Earth's surface, returning the rest of the Earth, allegedly, to the wild, rewilding it, and making sure that people live, the people who are allowed to continue to survive, people live in 526 square feet of space. That's their lifelong allotment of room, and controlling what they eat, controlling what they know, educating them. This is Agenda 21, educating them in such a way that children are undereducated, specifically because, and I quote, people who are educated to their full capacity consume more than their fair share of the Earth's resources, and feeding them so that they do not reach their genetic capacity, the height, weight.
These things are definitely going on. Are these plans, I believe, have been implemented. What I would argue is that the power structure has now triggered mechanisms on the planet that cannot be turned off, that will keep any of these plans from reaching fruition. We have mass methane expulsion happening in the Arctic. We can relate that to climate engineering as well. We know that climate engineering has altered upper level wind currents. That's altered ocean currents. We have warm water now pumping into the Arctic. We have a shredded ozone layer, which is adding to the thermal energy buildup on the planet, which, by the way, we're building up thermal energy on planet Earth right now at the rate of 4 Hiroshima bombs per second, 400,000 per day. That's how fast heat is building up, and climate engineering is making it worse, not better. In addition to being tied to every single thing we've discussed here, there is nothing that you can't in some way connect or tie to climate engineering.
Exactly.
You got it.
That's my point.
And now at this juncture, again, with Project Jade Helm, I would argue, again, as climate engineering becomes impossible to hide due to the cataclysms that are unfolding, and the power structure becomes more and more exposed, they become more and more dangerous. Now we have Project Jade Helm happening, which General Stubblebine has already stated is a cause for absolute concern, and who better to state that? Now, on that note, since in the past we've had, of course, exercises that were preludes to 9/11, UK bombings, Boston bombing, there's always a drill going on right before these events. Is it?
By the way, Dane, you're absolutely correct, and Jade Helm is a huge exercise as I stated, over 2 months, and it has, in addition to the sort of the military aspect of controlling a city or an area, they have special operations units that are designed to kill dissenters. Did you hear what I just said?
I did.
Anybody who dissents can be killed by these special ops people. and their special ops from the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines.
In some ways, I must add, in some ways, one of the most disturbing aspects of Jade Helm, which very few people are commenting on that I've seen anyway, is that it's not just the military. It's bad enough if it's the military, but it's also the police who, as we know, have been super militarized and are being trained to regard all of us as the enemy. So the police are being trained to become the oppressive perpetrators, right along with the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the National Guards, the Coast Guard, etc. And so thinly veiled, they say, well, this is so the military can go to other countries and preserve democracy by knowing how to deal with dissenters. Well, does that mean that they're sending all the police? Of course not. So that little factoid, I find to be a key revelation, if you will, in what the real purpose and the real disaster that lies in wait for us as Jade Helm goes more and more and more alive.
As I go forward, to elaborate on what General Stubblebine said, it would be the expected procedure with this type of tyranny for those in power to try to take out people in society that they feel have leadership qualities or that are not willing to lie down and look the other way, correct?
Well, what is the description of a dissenter? Is it somebody who doesn't like to go in there, somebody who is voicing it, and is it somebody who's just thinking those thoughts? How do you define a dissenter? Who defines the people that will be shot as dissenters? I mean, holy smokes. And this is exercised for 2 months in the United States, where people are getting used to or expected to get used to seeing military forces as everything is shut down and we go into martial law.
Well,
now, on that note, there's
martial law across the country.
And that gets to not thinking clearly. That gets to the fluoride, which is also synergistically toxic with the aluminum being sprayed. So the aluminum is being sprayed, the mercury is being injected, and the fluoride is being consumed in toothpaste, water, etc. And all of this is leading to a state of cognitive apathy, so that people are willing to accept this kind of thing instead of saying, no, not here, not now, not ever.
And that's an extremely important aspect you bring up, Rima. And this is where, again, the climate engineering is such an incredibly powerful tool for those that are now running the world, because they can saturate everything on the planet. So none of us can escape from these elements and their effects. And this is where the whole climate, quote unquote, climate engineering aspect is so complicated. And a lot of people try to put it in this box or that box. But we have so many things going on at once. We have weather warfare. We have biological warfare going on. We have an attempt to hide the damage already done to the planet from the population so they don't panic by doing even more damage to the planet. So again, with this particular mechanism, there is no place to hide on planet Earth. I've been contacted by... Yes?
Dane, let me correct you, because there is a place to hide. And the place to hide is in all of the underground cities that have been built, and high-speed trains going from one city to the other underground.
Yes.
What is that about?
So there's no place for us to hide.
That's right. Correct. Your point's well taken, though, that those in power are digging into the deep underground bases. No question there. I've been contacted by some people in the military that have just gotten out that said that their peers still in the military are waking up quickly to many of the things that you've already woken up to, and they're waking up specifically to the climate engineering issue and the biological warfare that's an aspect to that. My question for you, General Stubblebine, is this. On your contacts, or of your contacts in the military or formerly in the military, what percentage would you say or estimate that have, of those contacts, that have woken up to what is really going on?
This is a very interesting question because I don't know the answer to that. My classmates won't talk to me.
General Stubblebine was thrown off the class of 52 list because he posted a joke about the very, very risible George W. Bush during his time as the twice unelected president of the United States, and his classmates assumed that that meant that General Stubblebine was unpatriotic and was unfit to speak to the other West Point graduates.
They won't allow me to speak or to be part of their system. Period.
So isn't this astounding? This is what quote unquote patriotism means now. To go along with the tyranny, to not question the tyranny at all. And
yeah,
those who
you got it.
Yeah. And this is even someone who's given as much as you have given, that was willing to give as much as you were willing to give. Even you were ostracized. And I would argue this of what we face, that no matter what plans they have in place, and no matter how willing to conform many in the military still likely are, that the level of chaos that we will soon face will make it impossible for those in power to carry out the plans they have in the way they plan to carry them out, because those who they have recruited to carry out those plans will be more concerned about their own families that will be caught up in that same chaos. And I think we are in absolutely uncharted water here. Let me ask you this, General Stubblebine, that certainly there must be some of your contacts that you feel know this is going on. And I've the people from the military that have contacted me recently that are now helping us to expose climate engineering, they seem to indicate, at least within their ranks, that many are waking up and becoming increasingly reluctant to carry out this kind of tyranny. Based on, again, your history in the military, what would you say, based on the scenario I described and the kind of chaos that is likely coming very soon, what percentage of the military do you think, given that scenario, would wake up and realize what's going on and refuse to participate?
I think it would be relatively small initially. It would probably grow as the martial law comes down hard with a hammer, as dissenters are either killed or taken off to prison somewhere, to a FEMA camp. But my guess is right now, not very many of us have awakened as I have.
Running counter to that, we have to look at Obama's purge of hundreds of high-ranking military people, and we have to ask, were these the people who were most awake? Were these, for instance, the folks who were saying, no, I will not bomb Iran with a nuclear weapon? Not going to do that, sir, Commander-in-Chief though you may be. If that is true, that is the accurate scenario, then these discarded military leaders may very well form the core for the awakening, for the mobilization of the awakened that you're talking about. This is going to be bloody and brutal and terrifying. This is not going to be fun.